The video I liked a lot. It actually made me a little misty-eyed. I thought the video of what they did was amazing. But I just remember Ike asking me at work the next day. We were talking about it, and he looked at it. He goes, "But why did they do it?" He was like, "That was such a long." It was like it looked like he was retiring. That's what he said, and it sort of did. It did look like a retirement ceremony.
There it is.
Yeah.
Daryl, look at this. Mr. Rebound Award.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of important things to remember here. First of all, and I give Morey a lot of credit for this, and I've given Daryl a lot of credit for this offseason, but there's little things that he deserves credit for that I think people haven't mentioned. And one of them is getting Maxey and Rich Paul to be comfortable with not getting that extension last summer. And when you talk about players that are Maxey's age and Maxey's skill level going into the final year of their rookie deal, they want that extension before that final year because you never know what could happen. And Maxey, by the way, deserved every bit of it. So and by the way, here's another thing to think about. Rich Paul represented Ben Simmons, who was here for all of that stuff. And Morey was the president of basketball operations here when that happened. And you don't see LeBron fucking cutting the Lakers a deal. Like Rich Paul, and this is his job, wants to get his players paid. So I think getting Maxey to wait that year and also getting him, by the way, to not get the deal right away, which is what Ben wanted, by the way. Ben wanted that extension as soon as he could get it in that offseason, as soon as they got rid of Jimmy Butler. But getting Maxey and Maxey agreeing to wait till this offseason. And I think the other thing that this does is, and this is a good sort of relationship thing from Morey, and please note that Rich Paul's in that fucking video, is that this shows other players how they treat their players, and it sort of kisses the ass of Clutch a little bit, and it makes Clutch look good. And part of all of this, and especially considering an offseason when Morey was, the people were worried that his reputation within the league had suffered because of the Harden thing, and that it was going to be like a long sort of, that this would be a problem. Him doing this, him getting them to do it and then doing it this way, the organization treating him that way, I think is a good sign to other players who are not here. So people ask why they did it. I think that's why they did it. I'm sure they love him and all that sort of stuff, but overall, I think it is a smart political move for the Sixers to do what they did. So,
yeah, everything that you said about the extension and the timing of it is true. And I think another important thing that people just we know it about Maxey, but it's important to remember, like, Tyrese is a joy of a person to be around. Like he is so beloved within that organization and by so many people in the city. And think about it this way, where, you know, everyone talks like it's been a decade of Joel, and you have the whole injuries at the start, and like, oh, Joel, how are Joel's injuries managed? Is it him? Is it the team? Or like you have to deal with like I'm sure we'll talk about the incredibly toxic way people talk about Joel online, from stuff as stupid as the Team USA, like what's going on there. Have you ever like met even a non-Sixers fan who hates Tyrese Maxey? Like,
no, right. Yeah, nobody.
Everyone loves him. Like, it matters to people that this is like one of the highest universal like approval rating guys in the entire NBA. They just showed the top 10 in jersey sales thing. Like, Tyrese is beloved by everyone. So I think just along with waiting for the extension, basically when the team was in its absolute lowest in 2020, saving them, like him being who he was, completely like turning around the franchise, or at least in the sense that there was a chance it really could have spiraled off there after 2020. And Tyrese is like, there are a lot of reasons it didn't, but Tyrese is up there for like the top 3 for sure, if not number 1. And all those things combined with him just being a really fun player to watch, a player who works so hard. It makes sense to me, like why they would do it. It's a little over the top, but I think players appreciate a little over the top sometimes.
Sure, everybody likes to be treated that way. You know, like who wouldn't want to be treated that way? And I also thought the way that Maxey, the two things from the video, and we're not showing it because CJ's not here. I don't know how to do the video stuff myself, but I thought the way that Maxey talked about Embiid and the way that Embiid talked about Maxey is awesome. And, essentially Maxey said that Embiid was the first guy to believe in him and the first guy to tell him that he was going to be great. And Embiid said he's the best teammate he's ever had. And I think, look, not that relationship doesn't have to always be there from the two best players, but it's such a far cry from the Simmons thing where you could tell they didn't even want to be playing with each other. And you could tell they both thought that they were the best player. And the thing that makes me think about is we always talk about players being on the same timeline, right? We always want the best players to be on the same timeline. But I think the problem with that sometimes, and we almost had it with Tatum and Brown, but the fact they won a championship didn't happen, is that them being great at the same age sort of creates this internal competition sometimes about who the better player is. And I think the fact that Maxey came in when Embiid was older and let Embiid be the obvious lead dog that Maxey has to grow into being on the same level with and allow Embiid to be a leader and bring him along as opposed to both guys growing up together. I think there is good about that. You don't want players that are too far off on different timelines, but I also think that Embiid being established when Maxey got here allowed that relationship to be what it is. And if they both got here at the same time, I don't know if that would have happened.
No, it's like when the star of a high school team is a senior and what the second best player is his younger brother who's a sophomore. Like, he's not trying to usurp him yet, but it's clear he has next. It's clear he can help now. All those kinds of things. There's not really friction in that way. No, it makes a ton of sense. And you could tell them again when they lost that game 6 to the Knicks and Joel and Tyrese came together and Joel saying he was the best player on the team. I think he should be all NBA. I think he's just talking about, he says, I've never seen anyone work harder. Like, Joel getting emotional during his presser, like talking about how much he's proud of Tyrese. Just, you can tell he really cared. Because I think Joel probably felt it after the 2020 season too, where, man, this is really going downhill. And then this guy we drafted the 21st pick that we didn't know we would have completely saved the franchise in some way. He keeps calling him the franchise. So yeah, just their relationship there. It's the whole team's built around Joel and Tyrese, and it's going to be for hopefully a long time.